What's going on, guys? This your boy Kingdom Diplomat. I'm ready to rock on for sure. Let's go. Give me about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. If I were you, I would go ahead and get a notepad and pen. If you're able to do that. Um, if you're not, wherever you are, obviously go back and look at this at least 2 or 3 times. Take some notes. So I'm gonna give you guys one of the things I learned in my few short years on this planet, from mentors, books, going through actual situations in life, some principles as far as, well, number one, I'm going to talk about one of the thieves of joy. And I'll be right back. Okay. What's going on, guys? Kingdom diplomats, my fellow kingdom diplomats. Man, I need to break that word down for you guys because a lot of people don't know what that means because we weren't born under a kingdom. All right, so it looks like we got about 1 minute, 30 to 60 seconds. Get this thing on the roll. I hope you guys had a great Tuesday. And let me face this down so I don't get distracted with this. All right, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. So again, welcome to Kingdom Diplomat episode. I think this is episode 50, maybe episode 60 now. I have to backtrack and see which episode that is. So, man, I hope you guys are having a great Tuesday. My philosophy is 6 Saturdays and a Sunday. That's my philosophy. So, again, welcome to Kingdom Diplomat Podcast. This your boy, Tyreek. So, shout out to all my peoples around the world. My natural bloodline lineage, obviously, over there in Alkebulan, modern day Africa. And then I got a bloodline over there in Europe, Europo. So I probably got some Roman Greeks in my bloodline. And then I got some peoples over there in Asia, Eastern Central Asia. Shout out to all y'all out there, over there, up there. And I hope you guys are doing well. Okay. So I'm not going to be long. I just got some important things to go over. So if you're new, just like I met one of my new subscribers today, new to the Kingdom Diplomat family, enterprising young man, very intelligent, asked some great questions. Man, I'll tell you what, I could do a whole hour just on asking questions. The whole purpose of asking questions. Oh my gosh, it's just amazing. So as you know, I constructed, or I started this podcast not because it's I'm the end all be all. By all means, I'm a student, I'm a disciple, a disciplined follower of success, okay, of learning laws, right, and principles. So one of the things I found out, even when I was talking to this young man earlier, and I alluded to this, but success is predictable, okay, and so is failure, right? And it's so simple. All products, right, and mankind is a product, has a manufacturer, okay, and in the manufacturer's manual, they tell you of guarantees, and also they tell you of or about not just guarantees, but also how to use the product to get the best benefit out as a consumer. Okay. And I like the word more of a prosumer. Prosumer. There's a book out called Prosumer Power. I don't get royalties for, I don't get anything for using the title to this book, but it was one of my foundational books. Is obviously we're consumers, but we need to be more prosumers. And obviously there was a one of the richest families that said it starts with an R, ends with an S, rhymes with Della. But he said some years ago in 1800s that he doesn't need a nation of thinkers. He needs a nation of doers or workers, right? People who can't think, right? There's no wonder that iodine was taken out of our food. When you look that up, iodine actually is a vital part of your brain function, right? Brain function. So I'll leave that alone. But you need some iodine, right? You have to look at those. You have to have those minerals. And you have to know that your body's made is like a salt battery, right? 70-80% water, sodium, and a few other minerals that we all need just to operate this body, which is our brain, the engine to our brain. But anyway, so that's just a little bit of side note right there. Now, so laws, things in life are predictable, guys. Okay, so you see I have some writing behind me. You see that? Can you see that right there? The 5 most important questions: who, where, why. Probably can't read that. What and where. In comparison, a thief of joy. So I'm gonna get on the board just for a few minutes towards the end, but I just wanted to introduce myself, obviously, and kind of give you, kind of some foundational things. So you have to look for laws. Relationships have laws. Finances have laws. Everything has laws. Why? Because everything is a product. Okay, you have to look at that. It's commerce, right? And that's more real than you actually know, right? Commerce, and that's how big corporations see you. They don't see names; they see dollar signs. And I don't mean that as far as commerce. What I mean that is that everybody's a product. So, you're your own. You're a business unit. Okay. And if you look at yourself as a business unit, you have to learn, a business has to have a vision, a business has to have a plan, a business has to be flexible, business has to have a team around them, right? And there has to be some leadership there. Okay. So not a one of you looking at this podcast, past, present, or future, is a mistake. Okay. I don't care what the world says. And I just don't care about that. Okay. You see, who you listen to will determine a lot, and why you listen to them will determine a lot of where you end up in life, right? So all of us have a programming, okay, that we have right now, and that has led us in every area of our life. Okay, are you listening to what I just said? All of us already have a programming, right? Our brain can do 20,000 trillion calculations per second. Okay, 20,000 trillion calculations per second, right? That's amazing. That's just our brain. Okay. So that's why you have to make sure that you get the right minerals and get the right sleep, the requisite sleep. You have to eat the right foods. Although a lot of our food supply here in America, probably about 60, 70% of it is toxic. It's very simple to find out. You just got to look at some of the ingredients. Some years ago, I'll give you a quick tip. Some years ago, guys, I was listening to a young lady who designed heart attack test kits for the government, for the federal government, okay? State or federal government. But anyway, she said during her talk, I don't remember nothing about the talk except this right here. And this was the most important thing, okay? She said, if you have any product that you drink or while you're surveying as far as shopping and looking as far as the right foods and drinks to get and everything like that, whatever it is, even material things, well, this is going to apply to food and drink. Look at the back of it and you'll see the ingredients. She's like, if that thing is like a paragraph, then there's a bunch of junk in there, right? Toxins, things that can harm you, cancerous type things, and everything like that. And obviously, a lot of this stuff is coming out. Now, so let's get into this. All right. Oh, if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. I'm Well, long story short, I'm actually trying to transition over to IG so I can get 1,000 followers. So I think I put my link in my bio to my IG, but also subscribe on my YouTube also too, because the algorithm, the people who program the algorithm, they don't want you to know, because knowledge is power. Knowledge is power, right? No. Here's what I learned. It's the right kind of knowledge. See, there's a lot of people that accumulate a lot of knowledge. I accumulated a lot of knowledge growing up playing video games. I accumulated a lot of knowledge growing up watching basketball and football, right? Until I found out how that was created, where that game came from. But it was horrible. But anyway, so I was hooked on sports porn, right? So that was my idol. It's just honesty, right? Because that's where success begins at, right? Being honest with yourself. Okay. See, I just gave you guys a law, and if you were paying attention, you should write that down. Okay. Success is a planned event, guys. Okay. You got to know these principles and laws. If you're failing in any area, and believe you me, I'm still learning. I still got things to improve on. Some things I get really good for a while. Some because I'm trying to develop a habit and I slip back down. So I'm always trying, failing, and adjusting. Okay. There's a difference between failing and being a failure. Okay. That's etymology right there. Always look up the origin of words and where they come from and what they mean. Why? Because words are paint a picture. A book that you read, all media that you intake, right? That you gobble up, right? That you immerse yourself in, is painting pictures in your mind. Okay, and those minds are and those words are creating within your mind. They're creating patterns. Okay, and pictures. Patterns and pictures. You should write that down. Patterns and pictures. Okay, the left side of your brain is for words. Comes through to the other side. Boom, creates a picture. If I said a red chair, well, it could be a red chair where somebody sits in. Right now, at least you'll have the depiction of the chair, but I could mean a sofa, right? and it could be 10 people sitting in that red sofa chair. You see what I'm saying? So you see, I'm painting in your mind. So know your origins of words. There's another tip I learned some years ago, and the pictures that it paints. Okay, now let's get into this. So I'm going to start off with comparison. Okay, let's go ahead and look this word up, comparison, because a lot of people are hung up on this word, and whether it be in marriage, whatever relationship, at work, sports. I mean, it's just constant comparison, right? Comparison porn, right? I'm not tall enough. I'm not short enough. I'm too wide. I'm too big. I'm too sick. I'm this. I'm that. I'm this color. I'm this religion. I'm that. There's always comparisons that are being made, right? And it's done on purpose. See, if you want to keep a person divided, or people divided, or a family divided, or a town divided, or a city divided, listen to the principle that I'm throwing out there, because my opinion doesn't matter. It's all about principles for me, right? This is how I've been able to build success in certain areas of my life and increasing success. Okay. Um, is that you have to learn those principles. Okay. And you have to understand one of the biggest ones of the thieves of joy is comparison. So let's go ahead and look up this definition of comparison. Okay. I'm going to read this hot off the press. Okay. Comparison meaning, and let's see. So it's a noun. This is the noun, the act of comparing or the process of being compared, right? So essentially, we're just being categorized, right? Look at every level. You know, the people that are in control, they like to put us in categories, right? They're this, they're that. They're not this, they're not that. Take this exam. This exam says you are this and you are that. Be careful. Be careful, because the prison is in the mind. That's what I told this young man before. The prison is in the mind. I've been chatting with you guys probably for the last, 15 minutes, 13 minutes and some change. And I've given you guys enough laws within that 13 minutes to tremendously, dramatically transform your life. Okay. The act of comparing or process of being compared to. Okay. Here's another definition: a statement or estimate of similarities and differences. Okay. I get that. We do have similarities, we do have differences. That's the uniqueness of creation, that we're all different, right? Even twins are different, even triplets are different, and so on and so forth, right? Different DNA. Okay. The quality of being similar or equivalent, or a likeness. Okay. Let's see what else we have in here. Okay, so joy. Let's before I get into comparisons, let's talk about joy. What is joy? Okay, joy is not based upon happiness. Joy is not happiness. Happiness is not joy. You should write that down. Why? Happiness is based upon the physical, the natural circumstances. Okay, one minute you can feel great, and the next minute you can feel nauseated. Right? One minute you feel great, the next 30 seconds you can have a headache. Right? Maybe you don't have enough sodium, right? You're not enough electrolytes. Something simple as that. Okay. Um, but let's look up joy. Y'all put joy in the chat box. Okay. Put joy in the chat box. So, joy is an intense and especially ecstatic or exultant happiness, or an instance of such feeling, an expression of feeling. Okay, joy, it also says a source or an object of joy. So here's what I learned about joy: joy is a product of the spirit. Okay. Um, Joy is an internal feeling. See, there's a lot of people who, and some of the books that I've read, and here's, I'm gonna throw this out. I don't get paid for this, but you should buy that book, The Magic of Thinking Big. Okay. That's helped transform my life. I learned a lot of laws in there and principles. Okay, I still use today, and they don't change, right? And um, so in comparison to the word joy, let's look at the word joy. So joy again it's more of a spirit. It's more of a spiritual force. Okay, a fruit of the spirit, so to speak. Okay, it's in the unseen because there's people in that book I just showed you that there was one guy who lost his arm in the military or something like that. Um, and guess what I found out? So with that, he after he obviously got over the shock of it, he became one of the best golfers just with one arm. And so the guy that actually wrote this book, this is back in the 50s, guys, the 50s. See, principles and laws are timeless. They have no respect of a persons. Okay. So I don't use the excuse, they won't let me do this because I'm this color. I don't have this, my background. Guys, I can tell you stories that'll blow your mind. Okay. I told this young gentleman I was homeless at one point in time. I was like the lowest of the low. And I even have some family members that act like they didn't even know me. That's a whole nother topic in itself. But I still love them to life anyway. I just hope they change, you know what I'm saying? Um, for the better. So that joy, oh, it was the golfer. That's what I was gonna say. The golfer had one arm, and the guy that was talking to him, he said, man, what happened to you? And he went over everything, and he was like, man, why are you so full of joy? Right? Most people who had one arm or one leg or missing fingers, or whatever situation, you know, obviously a lot of people, if not most, will be just maybe bitter, full of hate, a whole bunch of other things that destroy you from the inside out. Okay. Um, so he said, listen, because of my attitude, so what he did is he made a list of things he was grateful for. Man, hope you write this down. Okay. The law of gratitude. He made a list of things he was grateful for. And he basically said this. He said that my attitude and how I see myself and how I see the world is better than a person that has two arms, who sees the world, you know, or acts like the world owes them something or they have a bad attitude. So what are you talking about, Tariq? So success in life, what I've learned from previous mentors is that it's just 98% attitude, right? It's thought process. You know, there's a book, like I said before, called Think and Grow Rich. You know, we were taught in the public and private school system to work and grow rich. Work is a product, a byproduct of who you are. Who you are is your identity, right? Work is part of your is a tool as you're focusing and as you're going after your vision. Okay, um, a job is just something like a vehicle to make some money, right? And I told you before, money doesn't exist. Okay, it's just an idea. It's just a system. It's an idea that wraps itself into a system. Okay, um, so I'm not going to get into that. That's for another time. So comparison, I just told you what that is. So we do that in our own lives, right? Husbands do that to wives. Wives do that to husbands. Coaches do that to players and everything. And I know there's a healthy level of comparison, but I'm talking about the comparison that steals your joy. So you got to be in love with you. Okay, you should say that. See, I'm gonna put that in the chat box. Okay. It's learned. Okay, how to be in love with you. Okay, learn how to be in love with you, and that's a process. Okay, because we're not taught that, we're not trained that way, we're not programmed that way. We're programmed to we're programmed for self-hatred, right? Self-cancellation. We're programmed for self-failure. We're programmed for a myriad of other things, right? And it all distorts, right? Remember I said the prison is in the mind, right? That's the most important land that you have between your ears, which is your mind and your brain. It's two different things, but I'll get into the mind part at another time, right? They integrate with each other. They work together with each other. Okay. Um, so with that being said, what's going on with this hat? Um, so that would so be that as it may, comparison we do that a lot. Okay, so you only know how much you give in any particular situation. Okay, whether you give 100%, 99%, 5% or whatever, and people can tell eventually, but okay, and that's where a lot of the regrets come from with a lot of people. That's where some of my regrets come from, because I was like, you know what, I could have gave more. I gave 90% or 95% or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So you have to understand that we're on the clock. Okay, you should not want to waste time. One of the things I can't stand that people say, oh, hey, how you doing? Oh man, I'm just hanging around killing time. My gosh, my gosh, my gosh, my gosh. That's probably the number one thing when you talk to people who are about 60 and above. They'll tell you, man, I wasted too much time doing this and that, if they're honest with themselves, right? That's under the law of integrity, being honest, because you can't be honest with somebody else if you're not honest with yourself, right? The number one man or woman we lie to is us individually. Okay. So comparing yourself to other people, right? There's a line right in that area. I learned you got to be very, very careful. Okay. Now, if you're giving 100% and they're giving 100%, well, maybe what you're doing, that person or that man or woman has a better developed talent in that area than you do. Okay. Why not ask them, hey, how were you able to do that? Or how, what are you working on? Ask them about the mindset. Okay. Because we all have to learn from something. Okay. We came into this world with a blank slate. Are you listening to me? Okay. We came into this world with a blank slate. So guess what? There's people writing, right, constantly on our brain, right? And those words, which are ideas, right, those concepts are creating in our mind, along with what we do on our own, a pathway, a roadway, right? Is your highway full of cars and debris and trees and some of your roads cut off, right? Look. Imagine you're in a um, airplane, right, or a big blimp, and you can see the United States, right? You can see America, okay, and you have all the roadways, okay. The even numbers, they go from east to west, right, and obviously the opposite, the odds go to north to south, okay. Just in case you didn't know that, right? You should know that. That may be imperative for a situation, but so imagine being in that blimp and you're looking down, okay? That is kind of like our brain, okay? All these little neurotransmitters is like a highway, okay? So my question is your road cut off, right? Are the cars all crashed on certain parts of your brain, okay? Is there a truck that turned over, right? Is the bridge out? Are you listening to me? Okay. Do you have light poles that are down on your road? So what are you saying, Tyreek? Like, how much are you killing? See, some people can steal your joy if you let them. See, nobody can make you feel. Man, this is something I learned. I learned this from a multimillionaire. Um, he he said there's only, it might have been a millionaire. I can't remember. But anyway, so, and no, they're not the only ones that can say significant things. Okay, I've heard of people who maybe didn't have too much, but they were wise in some area, and I needed to hear what I needed to hear from them. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But he said that only you can allow someone to make you feel a certain way. Okay, now that's a transition you got to kind of transition away from, as far as when certain people say certain things and they may get you down or whatever like that, because maybe maybe you had a mom and dad that wasn't so supportive. Maybe you had a situation that you were people weren't so supportive of you, and so on and so forth. You get what I'm trying to say. Okay. So with that being said, you have to learn that nobody can do that, and you have to learn those principles. And see, the reason why I can talk to somebody, like I was telling this young gentleman before, I can talk to somebody on the bridge and I give them my attention. And I can talk to somebody who's the CEO of a Fortune 1 company. It doesn't matter. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care if you're a super trillionaire, billionaire. I don't care if there's a room full of them. I step in that room, I'm the majority. You know why I'm the majority? Because I'm me. They're not me, right? I will bring something to the table. Are you listening to me? You don't get like this overnight. Okay. But here's what I would do. I'd shut up, because I'd say, well, you guys are succeeding in certain areas where I need to learn, and I'd shut up. Right. But just because I'm listening to them, just because I'm learning, and as far as maybe a mentor mentee position, doesn't their value isn't better than mine, and my value isn't better than theirs. Okay. You see what I'm saying? So here's another thing about and hopefully you guys get the whole comparison thing before I wrap this up. Um, here's another. You know what? I'm not going to get into that. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Okay, so you get what I'm saying about the comparison and joy. All right. Now, I don't know why this thing is kind of phasing out there a little bit. I'm not sure. Well, anyway, okay. So the five most important questions. Okay, I can't say this enough. I can't hit the nail with the hammer enough to pound this in. I still have to pound this into my head, right? And I've read countless books, gained so much knowledge, and I still got a long way to go. The right kind of knowledge, just all kind of things I've learned, right? Failures, successes, all this, all different kind of things. Okay, and the who you are is extremely important, the identity piece, right? And if you don't know who, see, many people, like I told this young gentleman before, many people confuse and get mixed up the what you are and who you are. And that's so sad. There's so many people that die on a daily basis physically, and they never knew who they were. Okay, they didn't know these five questions, and there's a lot of people who have money and have success in many different areas. They still don't know these five questions, because it's not just the physical stuff, it's not just the material stuff. That's a byproduct, I've learned, by increasing your value, by knowing who you are, right? Not mixing up those two. Well, how many people do you know that come up to you and say, who are you? Okay. Usually when you see that, whether it be somebody in person or on the movie, it's usually, they're basically saying, identify yourself. See, that's what they're saying. Identify who you are. Well, I'm this. I'm a police officer. Well, I'm a lawyer. Well, I'm the president. I'm homeless. I'm that. No, I didn't ask you, what happened to you. I didn't ask you what you did or what you're doing. I asked you, who are you? Okay. And you know what I've said about myself. I already know who I am, right? I am a king. Now look up the word king and you'll see what that means. Okay. King of my castle, right? I'm the king of me. It means I have dominion over a territory. Okay. See, this is how I think. I know it's not typical. I didn't learn this in school. I didn't learn this in college. I wasn't taught this by my parents, grandparents. I wasn't taught this by previous bosses. I wasn't taught this by, employees. I wasn't taught this by anybody. Okay. Well, no, I'm saying not by anybody, but most of the institutions is what I'm referring to. Okay. So because you don't know why you're here, your purpose, you don't know who you are. Okay. You don't know who you are because you don't know why you're here. And you don't know why you're here because you don't know where you're from, your origin. Okay. What I am is brown skinned man. Okay. I told you about some of the lineage in different parts of the world. Okay. But that's not who I am. Okay. And because I know these 5 foundational principles, that's where if I even remotely, if my mind starts to, other people start to try to characterize me or compare me to other people, they can't steal my joy. Okay, you see how I tied that in? Because I know these 5 questions, right? See, these things are priceless. Okay. Anyway, so man, I'm already about the 36-minute mark. All right, so I'm done, guys. I was supposed to get on the board. Maybe I still will. Maybe I'll go ahead and still will. I'm gonna go ahead and get on the board real quick, guys. I'm gonna show you guys something that's been stirring in me real quick. All right, check this out. Let's go ahead and get to this. So stop comparing yourself to other people. It'll steal your joy. And if it steals your joy, it'll steal everything in life. Steal, kill, destroy. Okay? That's what happens when your joy is taken, when you allow your joy to be taken. All right? All right, check this out. All right, so all mankind, let me make this a little bit bigger. All right, let's say this. All right, mankind, the species called mankind. Okay, now that's male plus female. That's mankind. Can y'all see that? You should write this down. Mankind, male plus female. Now check this out. Here's what I learned. This is so awesome. All right. So mankind is a product. Look up the definition, you'll see it. Mankind is a product. Okay. Let's go ahead and put this right here. Product. And every product has what? A manufacturer. Okay. Now check this out. Hopefully you got that down. All right, and each and every one of us, remember I said last week, and I like to say a lot of times, so all of us, male and female, a man or woman has a what? Vision. Okay. In the form of a seed. Okay. You should write that down. Vision in the form of a seed. What? I never heard that before. So your seed is what? Your future. You say, well, wait a minute. They taught me my future was external. No, it's internal. It's already been implanted in you. Okay? Let me get over here so y'all can see me better. So it was implanted in you. Okay? I can write left-handed. I'm ambidextrous. Okay? So your future. Right? Okay? Now, since your seed is inside of you, see that? There's a connection right in there. So when you look at one of the laws of the seed is the law of seed time, harvest time. Okay. So your seed is trapped on the inside of you. Look around, think 1 or 2 things. Okay. Think about 1 or 2 things, guys, that let's say a watermelon seed, let's say obviously a watermelon patch came from 1 seed, right? Or a watermelon forest, right? An acorn, if I were to put an acorn right there in front of you, okay, let's say this is an acorn, right? And I say, what is that? Do you know 99.9% of the people, if not 100% of the people, will say that is an acorn seed, okay? That's a fact. Now, here's the difference between a fact and the truth. Facts change. Now, see, they weren't misleading, right? It was or it is an acorn seed. But a seed properly planted Remember, the law of seed and harvest time has to be planted in the right environment. So if you're a seed, remember I said product, get down right here, product, that's what mankind is, a product. A product has a manufacturer. You should write that down, manufacturer. And then the product or the manufacturer has a, man, let's try blue. Gotta get some new markers. A manual. The manufacturer, right, has a manual, a playbook, right, a blueprint, okay? And this is called the maker's mind. That's where the manual is, a maker's mind of the manufacturer for the product, which is us, okay? So inside of us, we got a vision. Now, here's what the world teaches us to do. Well, son, what do you want to be when you grow up? That's the wrong answer because that narrows your focus and, oh, I got to get a job. I got to do this. Now, you may have to start off with one, but I believe everybody is a business, an entrepreneur waiting to happen, okay? A leader hidden in the follower, okay? An employee hidden in an entrepreneur. You see what I'm saying? A future hidden in a seed, and the seed hidden in you, in me. Man, I wish I had learned. Somebody had told me this when I was 12, 13, 14 years old. Okay, so mom, dad, whoever, wherever your environment is, family, maybe your friends, colleagues. Is that right? Colleagues, and so on. And most of them, majority of them, will say, what do you want to be when you grow up? So you think job, ditch digger, construction worker, lawyer, doctor, engineer. So that narrows your focus right into there, right? Let me get on this side. Now, what should they ask you? Here's what I learned years ago. Here's what I ask my kids. How? Stop using that. Cross that out, erase it on your paper, and say how. How? How do you want to live? That's a better question right there. It will open up your mind like you won't imagine. Just keep asking yourself, how do I want to live? How do I want to live? How do I want to live? Write it down. And then what you do is that you start writing down how you want to live, right? This is part of the who you are, why you're here, the 5 most important questions, right? You have to write your objectives down, okay? Now, let me wrap this up. This is cool. I love talking about this. All right, you got to have a personal philosophy. Everybody has a philosophy. The programming that we have right now is the Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle philosophy, right? Their leadership philosophy for somebody like me is because I don't have blonde hair, blue eyes, fair skin, sharp nose, thin lips. That's what they said. They said, if you don't have that, you're my slave. Okay, it's not about racism. It's about economics. It's about money. Simple as that. Okay, why? Because they don't want to dig the ditches. They didn't want to create, the do the bricks to the building. They didn't want to do any of that. They wanted to think, and thinkers will always outdo doers, right? But here's the thing: if you can be a thinker and a doer, then you should not only be able to eat more than enough, you should be able to help other people to do that. Okay, influence other people in a positive way to do that. Okay, so here's the vision. Now this one is not working right. All right, this is just the blue from here on out, guys. So here is the vision. This is the seed that's implanted in you. Okay? The seed, the acorn seed, or whatever seed. Okay? Now, you don't know that's inside you. Okay? But what happens when you put the seed